is not just a matter of place, things, or comfort. Rather, it's concerned to the basic human rights of family, country, justice, and human dignity. Human rights are the foundation of justice and peace in the world. It's an important fact all the humans should know that human rights are inherent to all the human beings. Department of Social Work of Lissom College is observing this week as Human Rights Week. Here is our most respectful chief guest of this session, Ms. Dalia Jacob, who has been working with an organization, Bachpan Bachao Andolan, founded by Nobel Peace Laureate Mr. KAILASH SATHYARTHI. Ms. Dalia is an alumni of second batch MSW program of LISA. Let me proudly invite Reverend Father Jose Melet to Kochil CST, Director and Founder of LISA, to deliver the presidential address.
Good evening to everybody. I'm so glad that the Department of Social Work is organizing a week-long program on human rights. And we have started a couple of days since we started it. And appreciate the hard work done by the department and the students together. So today, I think the third day we are here. We have a very important personality with us. That is our alumni, Dalia Jacob. Ms. Dalia Jacob, I'm very happy to see her and invite her and also to welcome her to this program. She was our student, the second batch, belonging to second batch from 2004 to 6. So she is, I think, she's working for the last almost 18 years, or at least 16 years in Delhi with a very eminent social worker, KAILASH SATHYARTHI, and she has reached, is in a very important position she's holding. So I'm very glad that she is with us today, and we welcome her and welcome all of you to this program. So we are dealing with two things today. One is STEP, other is a human rights celebration. So Human Rights Week, you know, reality is made up of two things. One is human wisdom and other is human stupidity. So you may say, wonder why I say this. Because there are wise people, good people, philosophers, thinkers, leaders, teachers, social workers on one side. And on the other side, you know, these social workers promotes human rights and democratic values, social justice that help people to grow and develop. Like people like KAILASH SATHYARTHI, you see, we have very eminent social workers or thinkers and, you know, philosophers, humanitarians, Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa, or there are so many good people we know. So they are on the one side of the spectrum. And other side, there are also people who promote hatred, inequality, fascism, and epidemics of fake news, and lead society to a different direction. So on one side, people who help people to grow and develop and promote the social and cultural values, justice, equality, development. On the other side, we have people who are just promoting just opposite values, fascism and hatred, inequality. This is all over the world, not only in India, all over the world. So here, when we started LISA, we have the very particular ideology that we stand for human development. because we believe that people are worth. Life is important. People are important, and we work for people. So that's why we started Lisa with our motto, towards life in its fullness. And we have been promoting this ideology for the last 15, 16 years. So that is, so our students, we have our alumni all over, and we are happy that they are all working very well, like Dahlia, Jacob, who is talking to you today. Second thing I wanted to tell you about steps. So this is inauguration of the steps activities for this academic year. So unfortunately, we started the academic year late because of the pandemic, but still I'm happy that we could hear the report of the activities of STEP during the last year. Wonderful work they were doing. So their presence is shown everywhere in different fields. I appreciate the hard work done by the department and the students. STEP was initiated in 2004, I think. So first year, the first batch and the second batch. Second batch is Dahlia Ma'am, their batch and the first batch together. So that's I think 2004 we started STEPS as a registered society, and the step towards establishing a prosperous society. So steps towards establishing a prosperous society, that's the full form. It is found out by the students, and they did everything. They came and just showed me. I approved it, and they have registered it and working. The aim, as you said, the aim was to develop commitment of students to work towards a solution of relevant social issues of the country, and organize various social, cultural, and educational programs like camp, trekking, festivals, etc. So to create a linkage between social work students of other colleges and associations in the country. So these are very important aims, and over the last 15, 16 years, our students are doing it wonderfully. So our guest, Ms. Dahlia Jacob, should be happy about it, because they are the pioneers who initiated it. And it is not gone waste. It is progressing well and doing very well. And more than that, when we started with STEP, there were no many organizations, only 2 colleges. We are only, including us, 3 colleges of social work in Kerala. Now there are plenty of about 40 colleges. We have an association called ASK, Association of the Schools of Social Work in Kerala. So all the social work schools are members of the ASK. So we have ASK has initiated social work, professional social work associations in all the districts of Kerala, like CAPS, Kerala Professional Social Work Associations. So all the students of every college is also members of this CAPS. That means when you join, when you complete your course, you become a professional social work, and you have to register into CAPS, because then you become a professional social work under the aegis of CAPS, Kerala Professional Social Workers Association. So that is a step further from STEP. So STEP was coordinating the programs with the initial stage, and we have grown state-wise. We have grown ahead, and still STEP is very important at the college level, as we coordinate the activities at the student level. So this is about steps. And today, I'm thinking another thing is, there are so many of our former students who are friends of Dahlia, and people have asked me the link, and they are also watching this program because they wanted to listen to Dahlia. So I don't want to speak too much. They're all waiting to hear about Dahlia and her activities. So I'm happy that she is a part of a very great organization, and the Sathyarthi, Kailash Sathyarthi has won the Nobel Prize in 2016, and she was part of that program. So over 16 years, she's working with Mr. Kailash Sathyarthi, and of course, she's heading the organization now. So I'm happy that Dahlia is with us, and I welcome Dahlia, and I hand over the session to the organizers. So, and happy with this, I conclude my words. Thank you so much for including me in this program. God bless you.
Ms. Dalia is an alumni of second batch MSW program in Lissom, 2004-2006. Ma'am started her journey as a professional social worker in Delhi and worked as a probation officer of Child Welfare Committee for the implementation of Juvenile Justice Act. Later, ma'am joined in the training program of UNHCR and YMCA for providing assistance and support of refugees in India. For 8.5 years, Ms. Dalia has worked with the organization Bachpan Bachao Andolan, founded by the Nobel Peace Laureate, Mr. Kailash Sathyarthi. Ms. Dalia leads the content monitoring and evaluation and documentation division of the organization. Ms. Dalia's professional experience is mainly concentrated on the protection of human and children's rights, and has worked extensively with the children and young people. Now, I would like to invite Dalia ma'am to carry out this session of human rights and youth involvement. Now, let's listen Dalia ma'am's valuable words. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank dear father and faculty of LISA and students and my classmates and batchmates and friends who are listening to this session. And it's really an immense pleasure for me to come and talk to you all after 16 years of leaving my professional social work course and found my place to work with eminent personality like Sathyarthi and learn in the field of human rights and child protection. And I truly believe it is a training and support I got from Lisa as a trainee of social work in the formative years of my life really helped me to achieve where I am right now with the support of guidance of father and our faculty members that time. And thank you, Eric, for presenting such a wonderful report. And while you were reading the presenting report, I was thinking what our time in LISA, the initial years of STEP, what we have been doing that time, what we envisioned at that time as the first and second batch of LISA, and where you have people have reached right now. And it's really happy to see that LISA is spreading its wings in many directions and is achieving and leaving significant footprints in its journey to make a transform the society. And thank you all for having me here and share my thoughts and views about human rights and the involvement of youth. Youth means all of you in protecting the rights of every human being of our country, our society, and the world. So when we're discussing about human rights, so what is human rights? So what is the first thing that comes in your mind when we say this or heard it? Like we have listened to this, heard about it a number of platforms in newspaper, media, classroom discussions, or even our fieldwork curriculum or in the casual conversation. And today we are discussing about the involvement of youth in human rights. And this is a Human Rights Week we are celebrating. And more importantly, our country is witnessing a protest by our farmers to retake and retain their rights for survival, for their livelihood. So it's a quite apt moment to discuss what is human rights and where we youth, especially you people, stands to protect and uphold the right and own your right. So before starting to the theoretical part or any practical sessions or just I talk, let me remind you a story, not a story, actually a real event which happened in Delhi 8 years before in December. It's going to be 8 years now. So on 13th December, there was a news in every newspaper in the country which says a young college student who were out to watch a movie with a friend was abducted, beaten up, brutally attacked and gang raped and left to die in an unmanned, unlittered Delhi road in a cold Delhi winter night. So the story was in every newspaper, every media channel, And everyone who read the newspaper, they saw the news, read it, maybe take a deep breath and tell themselves, what is it happening with my country? When it is going to end? Then we might have, all of us, every average Indian followed the newspaper and went back to the daily chorus. But some students in Delhi, especially her classmates and the students from JNU, realized this has to be come to an end. And this, if we don't talk right now, this is going to continue. We have to put an end to it. That no one has any right to violate or attack anyone just because a lady or woman standing on the road or traveling on a bus or traveling in a public transport system. So they come on the road, start asking for, demanding their right, especially to the Delhi police and Delhi government, to find the culprits or accused and bring them to the justice. So the protest started with a few classmates of the girl, whom we called Nirbhaya later. Then the fight and the demand was picked up by the students in JNU and Delhi University and Amity, then Jamia. Everyone joined every single universities and every single college in the country joined the hands with protesters. And after seeing the protest and the demand and arising demand and increasing support of the young people who are supported by the many NGOs, social activists, reformers, political leaders, Delhi government speed up their action. They found the culprit, bring them to justice of the law and report the case and everything. But that was not the end for them, because the demand of these people was not just justice only for Nirbhaya or the girl or her friend. Because they found in Nirbhaya, they found themselves. If it is Jyoti today or Nirbhaya today, tomorrow it can be me, my friend, my sister, anyone in my family, anyone in my community, anyone in my college. So what their demand was a robust system and accountability from the part of government to ensure protection of women and children. So their demand got accepted, and Union Government of India set up a judicial commission headed by Justice Gopal Subramaniam and J.S. Verma. They're asked to look into every amendment possible Indian laws to bring system and process, a robust system and process to ensure protection of women and children in the country. It resulted in an amendment to IPC, Criminal Code of Procedures, and similar other laws. It enhanced and increased the punishment system, investigation system, and the process. And following that, we have this is the one story which happened, because I can proudly say that if it was not for youth, people like you who feels and something is wrong and have courage to stand up and come and talk if this is not right. If that was not for you people, for people like you in Delhi and in the part of the country, this case could have been as any other rape case in the country, which always come every other newspaper in the day, which we read every day and we follow the paper and it goes like this. But the young people stood behind, stood for her family, stood for the country. And same cases we have seen in like in Unnao cases, we have seen how the family accused the thrash or the family of the girl, and in Katuva and in Hathras. And that is, these are not individual cases. If we think it is individual cases, we won't understand it, because it is happening everywhere, as father said, in every nook and corner of the country. And there's also, this is no, and the rape or murder is not just one form of the violation. We have seen an unprecedented increase in mob lynching from 2015. So like Akla Khan in UP or Junaid in UP or Ukla Khan in Rajasthan, who are the name? These are the name are different, but people are same. Name are different, people are different, but the incident and the aftermath, the result is same everywhere. And if we think it's only happening somewhere in northern part of the country, not in our Kerala, because we are 100% literate, that is not true. We also have our fair share of violation, our fair share of exploitation. For example, that minor sisters in Walayar, Madhu, who were mobbed and thrashed to death just for asking for food. So these are the cases. Where are we standing? When all these cases came, we read about it. What is it that ignite in your mind as a social work student, as a social reformer in making, as a young person, as a young citizen of the country? What is it that bring in your mind? Does it ignite a feeling of like something is not right, something is not fair in the country? That moment, so when you start to ask yourself as a young person, what is my role to society to protect my fellow people, their right, and on my right also? And this is also not individual cases. We have seen the conditions of migrant workers or daily wages workers, when the country went into unplanned, unprecedented lockdown over the period of midnight, they were thrown after their livelihood, thrown after their shelter to live on the road. And many of them had to walk back when they found out this is not going to change for lockdown to seeking food and shelter in village. And many have died on en route to their home. There are 16 migrant workers who by train ran over them. And there is a girl, 14-year-old girl who are walking with her father. 14-year-old trafficked child labor who walked from Telangana to Chhattisgarh with her family and other people died on exertion on en route. And we have there are at the n number of cases is happening around us. These are a few of examples. Go through it, think about what is happening, and we can find out. So based on these examples happening, so let us think about what is human right. What does it mean by that? The two words which we often use, especially during this week. And as a MSW student, social work students, we often use it in many part of our life, at many areas of our life, in our practical curriculum or in fieldwork curriculum, wherever we go. So human rights are the basic rights and freedom that belongs to every person in the world from birth until death. They apply regardless of where you are from, what you believe, or how you choose to live your life. These are the fundamental values that binds every human family together and the only truly universal language on the earth. The other common thing with the human race shared together is war, which is totally against human rights and freedom. These rights and freedoms are hard won, but built on the stones of sacrifice and conviction for fathers. Hence, for the Indians, they need to be protected and preserved. And that requires a collaborated, well-thought effort of every human being, especially young people like you. And if you think about the idea of the human rights, where it comes from, is the first officially ratified and acknowledged document or the Declaration of Human Rights is from the United Nations, which made the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It has identified and proclaimed 30 human rights by the UN General Assembly in Paris on 10th December 1948. These rights are the common standard of achievements for all peoples and all nations. It sets out for the first time that the fundamental rights to be universally protected and supported, and it has been, therefore, it has been translated into 500 languages, which is spoken across 197 countries registered with the UN organization. So when we come to India, so we speak on the human rights perspective in India. What is the human rights scenario? What are the human rights for Indian national? As we are Indian national by birth, we have the voting right in India. We all reside here. So what are our right, human right as an Indian national? What are the freedom and liberty we are legally approved to enjoy and protect and uphold? So the part 3 of the Constitution of India guarantees 6 fundamental rights to all its citizens, which include right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and education right, and right to constitutional remedies. The architects of our constitution identified these rights as the means to ensure the stability of our country as a sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic. And these rights are the fundamentals on which our country is built. All its citizens are being alive. All its citizens, the 1.3 million people of our country is being protected, saved, and secured. These are the fundamentals of our existence. The moment it is starting being abused or is starting being taken away from us, our existence will be in question. Then we will no longer be human being. We will just object to someone's autocracy or dictatorship. And there comes our duty as the voters, as the young people, to stand for it, own our right, realize it, acknowledge it, and protect it. So if you look into the history of the human rights protection action happening in the world, across the globe, youth has played a tremendous role to take part in the design and conceive and lead, implement the movement and protest and activism, along with their peers, be it elders, adults, or children, whoever, or social reformers, activists, for multiple occasions, multiple reasons. So across the globe, young people have always been instrumental to shape, design, and uphold human rights, whether it has been advocating for access to education, civil rights, democratic reform, economic equalities. right of women and children, or fight for climate change, young people have been at the forefront of tremendous activism when in the fight is for human rights. So let's have a look into the history of all such a great movement, which resulted in bringing significant changes in the political, social, cultural landscape of the country over some decades. So every freedom movement or a revolution which happened in the countries across the continent, be it against colonial power, be it against oppressive monarchy, or it is a corrupt government, or feudalism, or bureaucracy, like French Revolution, Greek Revolution, American Revolution, all have won the battle and the aim because of immense activism of youth in it. Because they get a clear perspective, they understand what they feel, and they have vigor and energy to spread the word, to pass a message, and influence the masses to understand what they say and sensitize the mass people. This is what is right and what is wrong. Why should we do what we are doing? And if you look into the other theme-based or issue-based the youth activism which happened, the one is in 1965, the young people of the United States stand for the voters' right, a civil right of every person, irrespective of color and race, which resulted in Voting Rights Act. And we all know in South Africa, the country which was infamous for its apartheid, where the Nelson Mandela and people were hard fought for the war, and it was supported only because of youth, they won the war. And the protest against youth in Vietnam War, the US involvement in Vietnam War in 1965 is the well-known labor movement in the UK. And Chinese, the protest for children at Tiananmen Square of China in 1989. There's some of the few global movements happened under the leadership of young people. And recently, 10 years ago, we have seen another youth-led movement with the support of social media and our media platform, which is called Arab Spring of 2010, which is started in Tunisia, which is spread to Egypt, Libya, Yemen, Syria, Bahrain, and other Middle Eastern countries. And the result of this movement started was a handful of youth, which is supported by other millions of youth, was nothing but the first democratic elected prime minister for Tunisia. Freedom and liberty from autocracy, dictatorship. And we know what happened in Egypt as well. This all followed the Spring Revolution, Jasmine Revolution, which all designed, conceived because youth felt what is being done to them is injustice, is unfair. They have to start for it. They have to put an end to it. And we also, in the recent years, we have seen in Spain and Greece, we have seen thousands of students demonstrating on the street, demanding social change and defending public education. Students from we all heard about the Occupy Wall Street movement, in which all students from the different US universities marched across the Wall Street, which is the economic capital of US, against the growing economic inequality in US. And so, put aside the global figure, global incidents, India, the largest democracy in the world, has also its fair share of human rights movement led by youth. First and foremost is our freedom struggle, the great freedom movement against the colonial powers, which we won in 1947, which has witnessed a tremendous amount of youth participation, contribution, and ideology, and of course their sacrifice to get the freedom for which we all are enjoying, which our next generation will enjoy, their next generation will enjoy. So it's all a contribution from the youth. And in 1975, when the government of India declared emergency, it was a youth who stood against that dictatorship, because human rights cannot be taken away without consideration. That cannot be done. And there was the protest against anti-reservation, against reservation, anti-reservation movement, and all Assam Student Union, which is resulted in establishment Assam Accord, and the great protest, which is still going on in Northeast and Northeast state, including Manipur and Assam, against Armed Forces Special Power Act, which is indeed a certain large number of human rights violation in that part of the country. These are and currently going on. In the last year, we had a protest against NRC, CAA, and as I said earlier, ongoing farmers' protest. This all have witnessed the participatory youth, contribution of ideology, contribution of clear vision. Even though there is one part of the, as father said, the second part, which is spreading hatred or gossip or fascism, even though they're saying that these people are misled, misinformed, but it is youth people who did analysis of the fact, research, assess, and bring out the truth and reality with evidence and information, which is actually throwing light into the people who are really affected by this unthought, unprecedented, undemocratic reformation which is happening because of some group of fascism or something thinking that what they think is right. But our country is a democratic, secular country, as our forefathers said, which is, it is for every citizen of India. The right is for every single person in the country which is born and he will die here. Be it is a child, be it is a woman, be it is a child, be it is a homosexual, be it is a Muslim, be it is a Christian, be it is a Hindu or minority, whatever it is, whatever the caste or religion do, whatever the profession do, be a social worker, be an engineer, be a doctor, or be a manual scavenger, be a farmer. It is your right. It is supposed, it is constitutionally granted right. No one has a right to take it away from us. And we, the young people like you, who are the future of the country, stood on it and still stand for it. So, so moving from the history part and the effort the people do to uphold it, and this, but we can see that there is a steady decline or a decrease in the youth-led democratic movement or human rights movement which happened in India over maybe start from late 1980s or 1990s or 2000. There was steady decline actually, steady decline and participation and sharing of views and sharing opinion. And there can be multiple reasons behind it. Maybe there's some of them are pointed out like economic and professional competition in the global market, because people have to put much effort and pressure in academic performance and to build a career, pressure from the society, pressure from the family, pressure from the peers to be excel in some profession. Also the global competition which is happening. So people have to go to find a good job, find a good family, find a good job, find a good status. There's nothing wrong in it. There's nothing wrong in making a good life, good way of living with a good job. But still, the human rights is fundamental. If the human rights is not there, there is no point in making it a good life. Maybe in India, maybe in abroad, going anywhere, everywhere with the professional excellency. But the basic of every survival is human rights. Second thing is what's happened is that there is a decrease or shrinking for the opportunity and space for the youth to engage in debate and discourse on human rights as it used to be earlier. In the college, in the university, or in a society, or even in local youth club, which were active in our childhood. I remember that there was a club near to my house. They used to go and discussion happen. So that kind of community participation or university participation or college participation on discourse and debate on human rights focus. You do discuss on other things, maybe like many other 100 things, but how much time we spend on debate on human rights and understand human rights, that space is decreasing in the country. And thirdly, and most importantly, there have occurred a steady, gradual diversion from political thinking and political ideology and philosophy into involvement of party-based politics, because it is not the party-based politics activism is not what political thinking and political philosophy, which is aiming at protecting human rights. When you diverse, when you change our focus from a human rights perspective to vested interest practices, our interest and activism mode will change, our path of action will change. Instead of the defenders of human rights, we may ended up the other side of the human beings, father said, the violators of human rights. So we have to remain focused. The youth people have to remain focused, listen, learn, understand what you're thinking and where you're going. So if these things will happen together, so we can say that there is a decline or decrease in the participation of human rights. So from the golden era of youth partnership in human rights protection, we have reached a stage where the democratic space open to young people are shrinking. Your voice has become feeble, opinion are not respected, and liberty is being curtailed, and they are facing a poverty of hope. Because when you don't have opportunity to explain yourself, you feel like desperation, distress, depression. So then there's no hope. When we as a human fail to recognize and understand the human rights, abuse such as discrimination, intolerance, injustice, oppression, and slavery will increase. And no one is there to be blamed for it other than us if we remain silent and inactive. According to recent annual report by UN Human Rights Commission report published in 2017, it says the rights of the youth are uniquely under threat. Young people are 3 times more likely to be unemployed than adults and working in more precarious and unstable conditions. Young women and girls are disproportionately affected by sexual violence and complications in pregnancy and childbirth, many which are preventable and stoppable. Which is the second pillar of adolescent girls in the world. The report continues that young people had little guidance or knowledge on how to follow work of human rights bodies and promote human rights in their countries. This leaves us in a critical juncture as the future of our country and world is in the hand of these young people. When young people are left over uneducated, unempowered, unsensitized, or wrongly informed, wrong information put on, or wrongly guided, the society, the existence of our very society, also our country, the world is in danger. So the foundation stone, which was laid by the forefathers, is now in your hand to protect it, save it for the next generation. So let's think about how young people can, what are the role young people can take part in protection of human rights. So the youth are the sustainable development generation. To achieve the bold ambition of human rights, like the development of everyone, like sustainable development goal, on which the entire world is working together to achieve the sustainable development goal of every year. This is pre-described goals and in its indicators, which is actually part of a study for, I believe, for MSW students there, which is because it's all the social reform activities currently happening around the SDGs these days. And like it needs indeed is youth leadership. After all, the youth constitute 1/4 of the world's population. That is 1.8 million of world population is young people. As young people composes the greater share of the world, the lion's share of the world's population, greater is your role in upholding and protecting human rights. And when we talk about India, the largest democracy, it is also known as the youngest democracy because 34% of India's total population is young people. The young people who have the power to influence opinion and shape political and democratic structure of the country. You share the lion's share of the population. You are the majority of the Indian population. You are the majority of the global population. And we know in a democracy, the majority's voice won, not the minority's voice. So it is indeed, power is in your hand, power is in your hand and your head, and is responsibility in your shoulder because you are the majority. Not people like us who cross the age of young people, cross the barrier such as United Nations because they said that is 35. And so, and according to our election commission, a report they released in 2018, 45 million young people enrolled into the database of election commission, who were eligible to cast vote for general election 2019. That means that's a 5% increase from between 2004 and 2019 in the number of young people. So the number of young people in the country is increasing. It's not decreasing. That makes India is a young democracy in the world, the future of the world, because as a philanthropist, as the social reformer, as the UN expert says, the future is in India's youth because they are the young people. They have vigor, they have spirit, and they are being educated. They are more vision and they have vision and skills and abilities than other people. It is there. It's being told. India youth are awful. So what is the role? What is the responsibility and role the young people like you, especially the social work students, so for the social reformers, and of course other youth also have in your shoulder to protect the responsibility? Firstly, you have to realize and understand your right. What are your rights, human rights? Secondly, you have the right to uphold and protect the right of others, be it younger than you, be it older than you, whoever it is, every other human being other than you. Your responsibility is stand for their right and protect their right. So let us start. So this includes with the improving the as I said earlier, there's a decrease in the space and the platform for the young people to participate in democratic discourse and human rights discourse and activities. It's a shrinking pace because of encroachment of other actors in the place which youth used to enjoy earlier as a human rights defenders. So we have to reclaim that part which we lost over the course of our life due to multiple engagement, multiple factors. So it is time for the youth people to regain the place and the platform you guys were engaging earlier, enjoying earlier, and were on it. And don't let other people, any Western interest people, to encroach your place, your right, and it is yours because you are the one who is going to lead the country once. To improve the youth participation in the protection and promotion of human rights, we as a society, as a people, like every other, it's called the caregivers or the governors or bureaucrats, need to remove the perceptual and structural barriers and do some groundwork to facilitate a meaningful participation of youth. This is where human rights defenders judiciary, thinkers, academicians, non-government organizations, UN agencies, government institutions, and other key players step in. Firstly and foremost, the young people, youth need to be empowered as human rights defenders, not mere recipients. Instead of considering them as the potential threat or problems which need solution, or as the tools for achieving the vested political interest, the youth must be considered as a solution to the human rights violation. The youth should be educated on our constitution, develop deeper understanding on it, develop clear perspective, and comprehend the real essence of their responsibility, which will come only through the empowerment, education, training, and the knowledge you are receiving from the people who are real human rights activists, human rights defenders, and human rights and academicians, leading the right journal, right report, right academic work, right discussions, right platform. Once they are equipped with the right knowledge and understanding, that you will no longer be puppet in the hand of people with extra agenda, instead the true crusader of human rights and social reformer. Opportunity for debate and discourse about human rights, participation in workshop, research and publication, interaction with the key actors of human rights will help building perspective and understanding. You have wonderful association called STEPS and another very popular association across the state, which will open a large threshold opportunity for you to engage in discussion, discourse, and spread your messages and vision, and learn from others also. What is human right? What is your right? How you can do it? How you can protect in your society? And speaking of like existing academic curriculum, the opportunity to learn about our constitution is limited to a few percent of young people. In the first, we learn about the human rights and the constitution in our high school civic book, that's where I learned it first. We all learned it first. Then later it became shrink or reserved for the students who choose humanities or political science or laws for their higher education, which is a very few percent of the total students or professionals which go for professional training. There's other large chunk, large percentage of people, young people who study other streams, whom they have no arena, no platform, no support, or no training mechanism to learn about the constitution and human rights. That creates a huge void in the understanding, because when we are not given proper education, proper training, proper understanding, discussion on human rights, we will start picking in bits and bits from any platform we get into. And that may result in getting wrong knowledge, wrong information, and result in wrongly interpreting the human rights and constitutional rights. That will lead them to be part of the group of fascism, hate spreaders, ghost mongers, and violent people. That is totally against human rights. That is not what we want from young people. So the understanding and opportunity to learn about human rights and constitutional right, it should be open to every young people, irrespective of what stream, what curriculum, what course they study, or what profession they choose to be it a doctor, be it an engineer, be it any other medical practitioner, be it in biomedical, be it animal husbandry. It should be open for every young people, understanding on human rights and for constitution. And secondly, we need to overcome the shrinking and democratic space open to young people, protection of freedom of opinion and expression, association of people, peaceful assembly, and necessary precursors to youth participation. And this is currently being denied for the young people. They are being stopped from taking participation, expressing their view. Even if they do the peaceful assembly, even if they do peaceful union, this is being taken away from the young people, which is, if you are not you are given not that opportunity, that opportunity, that platform, you will never able to express your human rights idea, your view, and learn from it. That as a society has the responsibility to ensure that platform is given back to you and that you enjoy your freedom for association and union. The young people of your generation has advancement of technology and social media, which open you wide threshold opportunity, and use it wisely to spread your messages, right messages, and gain right messages, which will also help you to regain your platform, to express your dissents and express your opinion and action and take actions. As spoke earlier, or as said earlier, the shrinking space of democratic space for youth, there is some statistics to substantiate it, which got from the election commission data. So while an average age of Indian is 37, the average age of an elected representative 56. In a country where close to 50% of the population are women, The highest percentage of women ever elected as legislator is 14%. And we have a country of 33% of reservation for women. So see where the youth are standing, where we have been earlier and where is the youth is being guided. What is it happening? Now you assess the gaps between where the changes in the scenario, changes in the participant, the role which happened from the early youth movement and currently where you're standing, where you have a large number of opportunities than your forefathers and predecessors to engage in human rights activism, human rights protection. So understand why this gap exists. Some of the course I said earlier, but there are still, you can do a research, assessment, and talk to people and find out what is it, the factor which is stopping young people to take active role in human rights defense, human rights activists, and talk about human rights and start for others. With that, if you get that idea, then you can easily decide the measures to cure that gap, bridge the gap, get more people into activism, make you people reform work, and so be a social change. The society and government shall ensure adequate resources to support youth participation in democratic and decision-making process, as I said earlier. With this engagement, with the promoting their engagement, empowering them, the young people can raise awareness about their own right, engage with the political process to maintain and the accountability of the government on human rights agendas, and lead the human rights agenda into the future and secure the right of everyone. And so in India, we are lucky to have a large number of role model and human rights defenders to whom you people all can learn from, discuss from a lot and follow them, make them role model. And a few of them were that Sunitha Krishnan, the champion of human trafficking, she leads a hard fight against human trafficking and sexual exploitation. Her organization is Prajula. She's working in Telangana. And we all know about Aruna Roy and Nikhil Day, the crusader of Right to Information Act, Food Security Act, and Employment Act. And there is a KAILASH SATHYARTHI, who is a Nobel Peace Laureate and child rights activist, and Sambhurna Behura, another human rights activist. Advocate Colin Gonsalves is also a well-known human rights defender, and Flavia Agnes are few among them. And I don't need to mention about Metha Padkar. You all know about her, who is Metha Padkar and what the tremendous significant work they are doing. So learn from them, follow them, what they are saying, listen to them, understand what they're trying to say. There may be attack or gossip against them, they are saying, because that is all from the society or the people who doesn't want the country to be changed, or who doesn't want the country to be secular or democratic, as its constitution says. They have vested interest in their mind. They are not standing for the larger population who's saying it is not right. They just have their own fixed agenda. That is not where the young people are supposed to lead. They're supposed to follow. Get clear thinking, clear perspective, their understanding. So the only thing I have to tell you that a passionate and educated and empowered generation, capable and committed to tackling the impasses in protecting human rights, is imperative to inclusive and peaceful and stable society. This is what you, young people, are being called for, trained for, and supported for, and being asked for. Unlearn what you have learned. If anything, you feel anything is wrong, anything is not fair in what you have learned all these years, unlearn it. Then relearn the right thing, through right action, through right course, from right people, at the right area, at right time, at right platform. Debate it, discuss it, and lend your voice for protection of the right, because you are the future of our society, our country, this world. Hence, big is your responsibility. Thank you for listening to me. And
Thank you, ma'am, for such an informative session.
Now, let's move on to this question and answer session. The participants are free to ask the doubts and questions regarding the session. Either you can use your chat board or can directly ask by unmuting the mic.
Dalia, you could tell what you are doing actually in connection with this, your work with the SATHYARTHI, that organization, something about your organization and the work also, maybe motivating for the students.
oh, sure. So, okay, let me talk about a little bit about our history of our organization. It is started in 1980. So named Bachchan Bachao Andolan. It's translated in English. It's Save Childhood Movement. It started as a grassroots movement with a group of people who are friends and like KAILASH SATHYARTHI. to work against the trafficking and forced labor of children, because in north part of India, especially in the south also, but north part of India is much higher level. The children from the different undeveloped area society used to kept in bonded labor in brick lanes, carpet industries, or agriculture areas. So, and there was no, at 1980, that time, no one even think about children have right, and making children work or keeping them in forced labor or trafficking them was a crime. So they started this movement to rescue the children and protect the children and their families from the child labor and modern labor situation. So the first rescue they did was the rescue of a girl named Sabo, whose family has been a bonded labor from generation. Her father, her grandfather, great grandfather, that grandfather, everyone has been a bonded labor in a brick lane in Punjab. And she and her brother and family were staying along with other 100 broader laborers in the brick lanes. If you have known how brick lanes functions, you should understand. So the brick owner decided to sell Sabo to a brothel in Bombay. And her father overheard the conversation from some colleague, and she didn't know what to do, how to protect her daughter, because of course no father will want her, the daughter will end up in a brothel. So that time, Kailash Sathyaarthi was running a newspaper called Sangarsh Jari Rahega, like revolution will continues in Delhi along with her friends. So someone told him there's a person called Sathyaarthi in Delhi, go and meet him. So the person came here and met Sathyaarthi and told him, oh, this my daughter is like this and we are family going to do. And that time there was no one knows what to do with child labor, what to do with the trafficking, everything. And there was no law actually. There was the trafficking was not a law then. When child labor was not in a law, then there was not a crime at all. No one thought about. The only thing was the British era Bond Labor Act. So based on that, he and his friends went there, took the police and filed a complaint. And somehow, after a lot of fight, beating and thrashing and in the Hindi word gali galosh, apas mein, uske baad they managed to rescue Sabo to Delhi and bring her along with other people. So that was the first time the rescue happens. The first endeavor happened to take out a set of bonded laborers from the chain of bonded and forced labor. So that led to the formation of Western Bachao Andole. Then Kachati realized they have to do something, not just to rescues. To if we want to make the children, the country child labor free and make sure every children has to have their right. So from there, they built the Bachchan Bachao Andole. Though they started doing rescue operations in multiple states, then did the carpet campaigns in multiple industry like a carpet or football stitching industry, because that is one of the huge exporters. India is one of the major exporter of carpet and football to mainly Europe, which is largely run by child laborers. Sorry to say, but they run some. So they did campaign. So that was the beginning part of the Bachchan Bachao Andole in 1980. So gradually the movement grown into a proper organization, started doing other work like rescue from community-based program, judicial interventions, mass awareness, researches and everything. So then they keep rescuing children, and they started a program called Bal Mitra Gram, that's called child friendly village, that we implement in the villages which is completely very prone to child labor, from where large number of children are being trafficked into forced labor. So it's a preventive program. So we go their village and work with the children there and empower the children about their right and build and make the children to defend their right, to make sure no children will go forward. No, one will be working within the village and every children will be in school. It's a wonderful program which resulted in making 540 villages child labor free, where every children are in school and no case of child marriage, because which is really, really difficult to achieve in a North Indian villages where child marriage is like a day-to-day affair. The girls and boys both are as young as 10, 11 years are being married off in North Indian villages. So these are the main program that we are doing, and we did multiple researches. And as I said earlier, the IPC amendment which happened after Delhi gang rape, we were part of the drafting committee. Because when we started working about judicial intervention policy support to the state government. And we have filed a number of public interest litigation with the Supreme Court of India and many high courts. And I can say that BBA was successful in defining trafficking, what is human trafficking, why it is a crime for India, and what is child labor, why it is a crime for India, and played a critical role in drafting child protection, child labor law, juvenile justice law, POCSO, IPC amendment, and many laws and rules and the state rules and policies. and we did that. And in 2016, 2016, right? We won. 2016, we won the Nobel Peace Prize. Sorry, I forgot the year. I'm so sorry. We won the Nobel Peace Prize. That is a recognition to the Satyarthis. It's not a okay. The Nobel Prize is award to one single person. That is their protocol. But it is not. It was not award just to Satyarthi. It was award for every single Indian. Every single Indian child, every single Indian young people who stood for the children's right, who will be standing for children's right. So that's award for India. So though it was issued in the name of Satyarthi. So then we started another organization called Satyarthi Foundation for Children to be as a resource organization. And we have, so that organization is also running same kind of work, which is doing many multiple campaigns. So you may remember in 2017, we did a All India campaign called Bharat Yatra. We started from Kanyakumari, we came to Trivandrum, then we walked through 22 states, literally walked 22 states for 35 days and reached in Delhi, and the coordination was in the Ashwadi Bhavan, which resulted in amendment to the POCSO Act, IPC and other acts. Before that, in 1998, Satyarthi led a global campaign called Global March Against Child Labor, which traversed across 104 countries. And which is demanding for a global treaty or a global convention to eradicate child labor. And the result was that the campaign reached the ILO headquarters in Geneva, and they submitted the memorandum. It resulted in ILO Convention was of Child Labor, ILO Convention 182. It happened on the day of 12th June. So then on that, then and there, ILO declared 12th June will be a World Anti-Child Labor Day. So when Eric was presenting the report, so you did some work on that 12th June. I was literally happy that is something which happened by a group of young people. It was the march was also by young people, like I can say name Basu or Iqbal or Govind and Devli, Aditi. They are all the people who literally led that. They are children, and some young people led the global march, which resulted in declaration of that convention and reserving a day for children labor. And still, people are observing. And I was really happy that my college is also celebrating and observing, doing some work on that day to protect the children. So when I talk about what I do as an employee or associate or activist, which we call ourselves within our organization, though we have nomenclature to show our HR policy. So what is that I'm not in the implementation front, I'm in the management front side, where I work with the senior management and the board to design our programs, like design a program and strategies and develop its monitoring framework and do its documentation for the donors and our board members. So I undertake developing proposals, grant applications, concept note, result framework, designing campaigns and a different program name, because sometimes the program, even though the main and the key name of the program is Balmutragram or victim assistance or legal support, there may be sometimes some changes will happen. So based on the need of the work, need of the society, need of the issue, or need of the organization at that time, I design program with the managers and support my implementation team to implement it. To implement the program. Currently work in 20 states of the country, where we have agreement with the state governments and the State Commission for Protection of Child Rights and the state high courts to provide technical support and assistance to implement the child protection laws in the state and monitor the implementation. Also to provide support when and with regard for individual cases of children. Yeah, then we run two child care institution as a model child care institution only for boys. One is a short-term transit center in Delhi. It is for the children who are rescued from the forced labor or trafficking. They're being stayed there for a few days, maybe week or month, and we prepare them to go back to their home, train them and help them, give them counseling, medical support, any other care they need, and then send them back to home with the support of government as a CWC order. Then help the children to get back into school, and we help the family to get employment and the rehabilitation support as per the law for these children. Then we have another institute, child care home, which is for long-term rehabilitation support with the children who require long-term support, like maybe they don't have parents, or parents are not in a position to support the children, or the children are in risk of being trafficked again or put into child labor again. For those children, we run a long-term center. That is Rajasthan, Jaipur. There the children stay there, go to formal school near the school, near the home, and also provide non-formal education, skill building, and support them to professional education. So the past 5 years, there the Balashram, the lockdown center, go supported five children to be engineers. One is a lawyer practicing in Delhi High Court. Another one is doing masters in forensic science. Another one is joining NDA, the National Defense Academy. Then some are doing some other designing courses, and in a really good platform. Those who were children who were taken from their home, they're trafficked or kidnapped and put into forced and bonded labors. So we were managed to bring them back for the mainstream society. In nutshell, this is the work we are doing. Like, and we have two people working for us, representing our work in Kerala. One person is already in the vice president, and another one is Ullas, who are our defenders and face in Kerala to the wonderful job of child protection, human rights protection in state.
And Dalia, I have one more question to you.
Yes, sir.
That is, how can we collaborate with you, or in a placement or a field work, whatever way our students can join and learn from your organization?
So the students can do internship with us as part of their broad that fieldwork curriculum. We take interns to do work with us in our central office or in state office as well, based on the what is the requirement the interns or you students have, and also what the requirement the organization, that department or where we are being placed to have. You have a volunteer department, and you also have a department which is work only for volunteers. If you want to do any volunteer work, like take part in our campaign, maybe online campaign, or to take part in a small part of the campaign, you can do that workforce engagement also with us.
Okay, Prashrin we know because Prashrin's wife Rajshri was a member of our department.
My
She was
teacher.
practicing
She was my
for
teacher.
many years. Rajshri was
Yeah,
teaching
really.
us here, and so I think you did she teach you, Rajshri?
Yeah, she teach me. She was my psychiatry teacher and other stuff also. She was my teacher.
Oh, okay. So, as Prashrin is your husband. He's
Yes.
he was in Delhi and now he's in Kerala. Oh, it's not.
Now he's in Kerala. He's working with us.
Okay, very good. Thank you
So,
for the.
yeah, and you can. I don't mind if I tell you can call Mr. Contact Mr. Prasin also if kind of any engagement you would like to do with us in Kerala itself for any campaign or any work they do, because they do number of trainings, engagements, outreach work with across the state. So they will definitely need a hand and support, and you can also learn from her. He's also a wonderful worker, wonderful human rights activist. I must say that.
Very good. Okay. Over to the organizers.
Those who have any doubts or questions can use this time.
Ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, as social work trainees, where we want to concentrate according to you?
Everyone concentrate according to you.
Yeah.
May I know your name? Can you please tell me your name?
My name is Eric Jami.
Eric. Okay. Hi, Eric. So you represented wonderful people. So Eric, I can pinpoint where you have to concentrate. Okay. So you, when you are doing your course, when you are going through the reformation stage of your social work, you'll figure out what is it which is close to your heart. What is it you want to do in your life? And it's not necessarily when you're studying your, because speaking of my case, my specialization was in psychiatry. I did psychiatry social work. But honestly, I did nothing in terms of psychiatry during all my 14 years of career. I did work only in human rights and child rights. But psychiatry helped while dealing with the children who are abused or exploited. But my work was in different spectrum. So it's a concentrate on getting right knowledge, right information, and right training, which will help you to design and define your future venture wherever you go, whatever work you do. And and also when you start working as social worker later after completion of your courses and you get a placement, I'm sure you all get a nice good placement in life. Like, just try to think what you like. Don't go for something my friends did it, I got a better opportunity here and there. Do what you like and like what you do. Never feel like, never make you feel tortured. I am not liking this job. For example, you join some other work then you feel like, I don't like what I'm doing here, I do what you, then quit it. There's nothing wrong in changing or keep changing your work, because you will learn by doing. Otherwise, we whatever the theory we study, whatever the book we read, unless we do in practical, unless we experience it, our learning will be limited. So try to find what you like to, what is which stands close to Eric heart, Eric as a person, Eric as a social reformer. What is it which bothers you a lot? What is it make your heart irk every night? Or as my boss says, what is it which take your sleep away? Find out that, then concentrate there.
Yeah, miss. Thank you, miss. It was so informative.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Could you please explain how did you get placed into this organization?
I attended the interview. That's how blank. No. So if I get into that is what, because I have been working in Delhi for some time, around 4 years experience. Before that, I applied there. Then literally they found me. I'm not sure. Okay, so I'll tell you a story how I got the job there, because they had 3 rounds of interview. So the first round of interview was, they found me okayish person, we can take her, only problem she doesn't know Hindi. My Hindi was like blah that time. So I didn't, honestly, I didn't, my Hindi was like, it was to left or right. I think something, I say something, meaning will end or something else. So that was my Hindi. So the thing, because I am I can say the working language of my organization is Hindi, is still Hindi, because it's established in Hindi mainland also, and they work with mainly in the north. Now they started working in the southern part and northeast part. So on my third interview, which was actually with the son of Mr. SATHYARTHI, who is a criminal lawyer, who is by training a criminal lawyer, by profession a social activist. So he asked me, why should I hire you? So because you leaving one place and you are coming to work here and you don't know our language, and I don't understand which language you speak. We don't understand what language I speak, and you cannot travel to all the Jharkhand remote villages of Bihar or Jharkhand. And why should I hire you? I said, if you will hire me, then you should know how you hire me, because I coming with the experience of working with the children, with the juvenile justice and this human rights and refugee right. And so I am pretty sure, based on the academic and professional career, I am a qualified person for the descriptions or requirement you send out in your application. And I also went out such a careless, when he asked a question, I was sure that he's not going to hire me. So I told him, sir, your advertisement said you need a person with experience. And now you're telling me we don't take you because you're leaving one organization. Either you change your advertisement, because we don't get experience without doing. And you don't get real experience without leaving one person. So either you change your advertisement requirement or take me. So he was like, how can you talk me like this? Because you are doing oxymoron stuff, because you send out advertisements, you want an experienced person, and you're ready to take someone with experience because leaving one person. That is things I don't give double standard. And I was so bland, I was sure that he's not going to hire me. But he said, okay, hire her. Well, we want someone like who believe and courage to say what the person is believing right and not wrong, and right and wrong. So then express it, that conviction. So when I proved them that I'm trustworthy, I'm confident enough to take the challenge they throw at me. So they thought, okay, we'll teach her Hindi, send her to feel like she learned Hindi and come back, and we'll work here. That's so, and it has been 8.5 years, I'm still there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, one more advice, because this kind of play statements sometimes doesn't work with every employers, because my office is a little crazy to work there. That also. Then, any other?
Ma'am, there is another question from Kobika. Ma'am,
Yeah. Can you read it?
What's the role of a social worker in promotion and protection of human rights? Can you share any experiences as a social worker? What are the challenges you faced in your profession?
So the role of social worker, as I said in the conversation earlier, said, the social worker is whatever the field area you work, be it in the medical field or psychiatric field, or you go to any other kind of care provider, or in the probation officer, or as an academician, or you go to research agency, or you work in. So your work is mainly a human right defender, because human rights is overarching right of every other rights. we may hear about, we heard about women rights, children right, lawyers right, farmers right, or architects right, or doctors right, everything. All these are profession or gender based or individual based right. And these rights are there because there is human rights. The moment the human rights is not there, none of these rights exist. So wherever you go and work, whatever the area, whatever the field you do, so the work is you to protect human right. And it's not necessary you should be working in a right-based organization or a charity-based organization. Whatever the support you to society, whatever the help you to any people as a social worker, the ultimate aim, the ultimate result of your work is making that person's life free and give the person liberty. It can be in any form. Okay, it's not been the like you walking on the street or raising slogans or distributing pamphlets or giving big speeches or maybe beaten up by the police or the tear gas or water shell on you by the paramilitary forces, or you are sitting in a jail and writing poems. It can be you go to a house or go to a normal person or go to any person and talk to them one-on-one conversation. But if you're able to build the strength of the person and sensitize and aware that person about his right and how you can acquire it and how you can protect it, that is also the duty of social worker. And my experience social worker, I'm glad, honestly, I'm glad I chose this profession and I really enjoy what I'm doing. And luckily, with my education, I got the chance to work with really good organizations in my life. Because my first job was with the child care home, which is actually housing children conflict with the law, which is led by the former Delhi Police Commissioner and other judges and former PS officers. So I learned and I got a chance to interact with the big heads of Delhi Police, actually, which is actually sounds scary sometimes, but they were good people. Then I got a chance to learn from them. Then also I was asked to work with the Juvenile Justice Board there that time. So it was also a good chance for me to learn from magistrates and social work members about the laws and things and policies. Because even though we attend the social work curriculum, our chances to learn about the laws and policies and schemes are very limited in a deeper understanding. I think in social work, we have a paper called social policy or something, but how much deeper we understand it, rather than the words and letters on the laws, the meaning of it, the implications if it's not being implemented, how to get access, get it implemented, and how we can help a person whose the right is violated. That kind of learning I got from working right from the social work, the Juvenile Justice Board and my observation home. Then secondly, my second job was also really wonderful. That was with the UNHCR's Refugee Assistance Program, which is because India is not a treaty of Refugee Commission, that protocol, but still we India house large number of refugees here. So they have different, their life, different situation is totally different because they are constantly on flight. They don't have place to stay. They have no roof on their head and no floor under their feet. So they're constantly looking for new opportunity, new place to stay, live, no place to, no job to feed their family. So working with them was different experiences, especially working for the young people and the women and adolescent girls who are victims of gender-based violence, mainly rape and gang rapes and things, and children who lost their parents in the violence in Myanmar or Syria. They're mainly from Afghanistan, Myanmar, Somalia, and those countries. So working with them was like thin. And so that was also good learning experiences from the other perspective. Then currently my working with my organization, SATHYARTHI movement, which we call collectively. So learning there was like, that actually got a collective learning. So because here I came to know about not only the activism work, but the theory more. Because when we take care of writing research work, doing research work, or I starting policy papers, or designing a mass campaign, maybe a theme-based campaign, or a larger India campaign, or global campaign, or doing rescue operations, human trafficking interventions, or a Balmitra program. So it is all kind of learning I have been getting from there, working with different teams. So I can say one of the luckiest part of my job, since I'm since I'm part of the management team where I do the designing and stuff, not part of implementation team, I have a chance to work with every implementation team. So that I can learn from everyone, learn from what are they doing, what is happening in the field. That is the like a two-way learning I get. Otherwise, normally people will either in the implementation front or some people are doing management. So they get the chance to learn both ends. So that literally honed me and reformed me as a professional social worker. And the challenges faced in my profession is like, honestly, not much challenge because yeah, for me, being from South India to here, the language was a big barrier for me, speaking Hindi. But luckily, since I have a little command over English, I survived here and I gradually picked up Hindi. That is one thing. And some days when you travel to the remote areas of Rajasthan or Jharkhand or Bihar, so you go there, they see you like a woman who is just roaming there with a couple of guys, and they will ask you, where are you from? Didi, दीदी आप कहाँ से हो? मैं केरला से हूँ. अच्छा आपका शादी हुआ है? नहीं हुआ है. तो आपका भाई है? नहीं है. So when all these questions, when you have to make the women understand that this is not what is important for I am here, but I am here. I just come to talk to you, understand you. So when you, that is a challenge. But at the end, that challenge we have to face, which takes some time and effort to build get that trust of the confidence of community. And once you win that trust and the confidence, it is easy for us to do our job with us also. So there is no such a challenge or problems or issues which we cannot move in our sector, like from our work. Of course, there is political challenges which is happening in the current scenario. Like you all might have learned that there is government is formulating many laws and policies to monitor the work of social sector workers. Like there's a recently FCRA amendment, and there is also looking for some licensing and regulation for social work practitioners. So that kind of challenges are there, but still that we have to live with that and find a way to still continue our job.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think we have taken too much of our time. So
No, please. I'm happy. Any questions? Or you can reach out to me, she has my number, and if you have any questions or anything you want to ask, or if you have any other queries, or maybe any partnership or involvement with us, like internship or volunteership. I'm happy to help. Because we are doing a campaign called a global campaign called am I audible?
yes.
Hello. So we are doing a global campaign which is called 100 million for 100 million. So the idea of the campaign is identify, empower, sensitize, and 100 million empowered and privileged youth, like youth and people, to stand for 100 million underprivileged or vulnerable children. It can be any kind of actions, any kind of support, any kind of protection. So as part of the campaign, we are building a cadre of group of young people who can work and represent the mission or vision of child protection in the world. So definitely the young people of the DSI can take part in that campaign work also, spread the messages and take action. It doesn't go, it's not like you need to take a lot of time, spend a lot of time, investment out in it, but you can be a volunteer of that work. That will get you understand deep in about what Satyarthi movement is doing and understand, get a perspective of child protection work.
Yes.
Hope we are done with the question and answer session. So I call upon Shimna Indi of second year BSW.
Good evening to one all, respected dignitaries, teachers, and students. On this wonderful occasion, I would like to deliver the vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank Reverend Father Jose Melito Cuchil, CST, Director and Founder of Lisa College, for his presence and the valuable words. Thank you, Father. Let me thank our Chief Guest of the day, Ms. Dalia Jacob, for her enlightening thoughts and also for inaugurating the Department Student Association STEPS activities of the academic year 2020-21. Thank you, ma'am.